Welcome in, everybody, to the first episode of a new season of Over the Net, a Mizzou Volleyball series. Last year, we were on the main site, rockmnation.com, but we're coming to you with a new and improved format here on Rock M Radio. Joining me for my first episode of this season today is Mizzou assistant coach, recruiting coordinator, defensive coordinator, Arielle Wilson. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. So why don't we start with the recruiting process? Now, obviously, it's a little bit different for every sport, but I feel like people are probably curious. Can you walk us through the recruiting process from starting to identify recruits to signing them and getting them onto campus as freshmen?
Yes, sir. So how it typically works is February through July. We're out recruiting on the road. In May, we don't do anything. It's not allowed, but during the time of February through April, we're searching for talent anywhere between 2025, 26, 27, 28, you name it. We're trying to get the best talents here at Mizzou. After that, after recruiting season is over, we typically are into season. And so now we're really talking to our 2025s to come on an official visit. Right now, we just finished up with our 25 class, our 26 class, and still trying to work through the new talent for 2027 to build that list.
And then right now you said that you're already identifying players as far out as class of 2027, even class of 2028.
Yes. So if those of you who don't know, we started back in February and January of last year. So we've been here for about a year and some change. And a lot of that was we were behind on recruiting based on just being new here at the job. And so we've been really working to build that list continuously. It's from day one since we got here, whether that was transfer or also just young talent.
So the usual recruiting process from identifying recruits at the very beginning, 4 or 5 years out, the entire process takes like 4 to 5 years. And you had something like a year and a half to put together this first full recruiting class.
Yes, sir. So we hit the ground running when we came in. A lot of our connections that we had from previous places really helped. I think we all do a really good job of making those connections and building them throughout the club season. And so that kind of helped propel a lot of our recruiting.
Yeah, and why don't we talk about that first class? Only had a year and a half, but still very impressive recruiting class, one of the best that Mizzou has had in a long time. Can you just talk a little bit about each of the recruits that have come in this season? Obviously, Flair Morrissey, Aspen Maxwell are the first two to have made their debuts. They both hit the court for the first time in the black and gold last weekend.
Yes, they are very talented. Aspen coming from Houston, and then Claire is a local. And so we've always tried to really keep all of our local talent here in Missouri. That is one thing that we're striving for and one thing that we want to continue to do. But they are great. They've come in and really elevated our level of play, even as true freshmen. And so you can look to see really good things from them coming up.
And then, you talked about Aspen Maxwell being from the Texas area. There were a lot of recruits from Texas who, especially in the freshman class, but at Mizzou overall, how important is the state of Texas to the future of this program?
Yeah, I think it's super important. I think anywhere in the country is super important, but I think a lot of talent comes out of Texas. I mean, you've seen a lot of good talent come out of there because of the state being so big, but most of the time it's just the history that they bring. They bring animals, they breed, raw athletes, and they are very much so athletic and talented.
And then you talked about in-state as well, the importance of in-state recruiting. And obviously, we see Jordan Iliff is from in-state, Morgan Eisenberg from in-state, and then more recently Claire Morrissey. To put it into perspective for people who don't necessarily follow volleyball recruiting as much, just how big of a volleyball hotspot is the state of Missouri? Obviously, a lot of really high talent coming out of St. Louis and Kansas City.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best, to be honest. A lot of good talent. I think because it's such a broad area, you either go to St. Louis, you go 2 hours to Kansas City. A lot of it is just trying to find the best spots. I think the state in general is a lot of hidden talent. And so it's been really cool to really tap into those networks.
Now, we've been talking about recruiting freshmen, right? But obviously, in the modern era of college athletics, you have to talk about the transfer portal. How much of your job involves the transfer portal in addition to the traditional recruiting freshmen?
I'm not sure we would have been as good as we were if we hadn't searched in the transfer portal. I think that we came in, if there was 5 players on our roster, and so we had to hit that transfer portal hard. And even now, we still have some really nice transfers that's coming in for us and that are starters. And so I think it plays a big role because you need experience right away. You want to win games right away. And so they've done a tremendous job of coming in and really having the ability to be here and play 6 months, only some of them, or even 2 years. And so it's been an incredible impact on our program.
And obviously very different from the recruiting side, 4 or 5 years to put together a freshman class, but you really only have like 1 to 2 months to put together this class in the transfer portal. So how more difficult is it to put together that class and to identify the right players for the team in the transfer portal compared to that freshman class?
I think we really do a good job of being thorough in our recruiting process. We really take time to get to know them as people. We really talk to their coaches of the university that they transfer from. We also get to know their parents. We get to know their siblings. We really take a thorough process in our recruiting. And I think that really helps in trying to make sure it's a good fit for our program. And not only that, our girls play a huge role in trying to decide if it's a good fit for, each player. And so once they are into it with our girls or talking with our girls or interacting, coming on campus, I think all of that plays a huge role in who we actually decide to grab out of the portal.
And then obviously several big additions through the portal. You've seen Arielle Wilson play a lot so far this season. Reagan Haith has come in and play a lot this season, in addition to others. This was a team that was returning a lot of starters, didn't lose that many players from the team the year before. So were you expecting to have so many transfer portal additions entering the offseason?
Yes, I think for us, we needed to hit the ground running, and after making it to the NCAA again, after a while, I think it's just the game, the beast of the game, and so you really need those transfers to come in and really make an impact. And so they do play a big role in what we do, but I also think they bring the next level. They bring different insight from other programs. A lot of the times they're, really good from their team before. And so they're looking to make an impact. And I think they do that really well.
Now, we were just talking about 2 of those transfers, Prescotilla and then Reagan Haith. And that brings me into my next segment, which I want to talk about, obviously, being the defensive coordinator as well. And it seems like there's a lot more depth that's being utilized at libero DS and the middle blocker this year. Can you talk about just how much does it open up the strategy side of the game to have somebody like Prescotilla come in who can be that reliable defensive specialist, in addition to already having the SEC libero of the year on the court as well?
Yeah, I think defense wins games, and I also think they do a really good job of trying to communicate and making sure that they cover the court. I think they take a lot of pressure off of those passer to attackers, those 6 rotation outsides, who we need to actually be, hidden in the back row. But defensively, it's like you need passing, you need defense. And so I think they do a really good job of helping us out in that area.
And then entering the offseason was adding a defensive specialist that is really rock solid and serve receive, somebody who can come in and, again, be a really reliable member of that back row. Was that something that was high on the list of priorities in the transfer portal?
Yes, it was. I think if anything, we always recruit 6 rotation players. We want to make sure that first contact is good and that we can, make sure we have all 4 options on the court. And so it does play a big role in that first ball. And we're always trying to make sure that we continue to stay high level in that area.
And then I also wanted to talk about that middle blocking group. Obviously, you were a middle blocker at Penn State, something that we'll talk about a little bit more in a minute. But now you have Reagan Haith come in, right? You have the 2 returning starters in Colleen Finney and Morgan Eisenberg. How much of a difference does it make to have 3 SEC starting caliber SEC middle blockers that you can have in that rotation?
I think it's very important. Everybody needs to be ready, and you never know what's going to happen. I also think that it brings versatility to our team. They're all really good at what they do, and I think they're very different at the same time. I think that our offense has really relied on them to just be great and available, and so it's opened up a lot of doors for our pins as well. But for the most part, they're phenomenal players, and they keep continuing to work hard every single day on new skills that they need to kind of be better at.
And then that's perfect. You talked about new skills because it brings me right into my next point. Colleen Finney has really shined on the court so far this season. You know, she showed a lot of talent last year, had some really great matches, but what's allowed her to take that next step?
I think just really wanting to be next level. She doesn't necessarily want to stay the same. And anytime you see her, she's always asking how she can be better on the court. I think once you become an upperclassman in general, people start to scout you. And so it's time to really level up and figure out, how you continue to score and how you continue to elevate. But we always just talk about, those numbers. What does it take to be All-American? How's it going to be when you need to be efficient every single ball you get set? And so she continues to impress me every single day, especially the energy she brings, which is great.
And then moving into your background as a head coach, prior to joining the Tigers, spent 4 seasons as an assistant and recruiting coordinator at Georgia Tech from 2019 to 2023, made the postseason all 4 years, went to an Elite Eight. What went into the decision to leave for Mizzou, coming from such a successful program and starting with a new head coach?
I definitely feel like me and Dawn had kind of a previous connection with her asking for me to come to UNLV. And so I thought I couldn't turn it down a third time. But the other piece of that was just to have a better understanding of next level. I'm always searching for the next level and wanting to be great in everything I do. And I think that she possesses that really well. I really enjoyed my time at Georgia Tech, and I also really enjoyed the fact that my head coach was always about, you need to be better, you want to go somewhere and be better. And so she always encouraged just that next level, and encouragement really helped too.
Talking about getting to that next level, what's one particular area where you think you've taken a big step as a coach since joining Mizzou?
Wow. Dawn has empowered us so much as coaches. I really have enjoyed working through scheduling. I really have enjoyed working through kind of the other pieces of coaching, which is everything people don't see, the admin stuff, the administration stuff. But on the court, definitely having the ability to help with blocking, help with defense, even talk about offense and what those, what that might look like. But I think all together, we all work and do really good things together. And she's been empowering and just letting us kind of explore in that realm.
Now, one of the things you mentioned is scheduling. Do you play a big part in putting together the schedule for the team?
Yes, I do. And I enjoy it so much. I think it really helps to get those tough schedules for preseason so that you see some teams that you might not see during the season. I think we play in a really tough conference, and that helps us, but it also helps us to have a really tough season so that once we make it to postseason, it's kind of like it's cakewalk once you make it to postseason. So the harder your preseason, the more reps you get with trying to, play tough teams, and the better it is for a season. You're able to compete at a high level always.
And then, you talked about those tough opponents. Obviously, Creighton, Louisville on the schedule, incredibly tough opponents, teams that look like they could make really deep postseason runs this year, but also some teams where, maybe from a slightly lower conference, not from a power conference, but teams that could definitely end up making the postseason. How big is it to play some of those teams where, for example, Lipscomb coming up, right? They're in the A-Sun, not a power conference in volleyball, but a team that could definitely end up making the NCAA tournament. How much of a benefit is that when the committee looks at your resume?
I think anytime you can win over a top ranked team. Lipscomb is a great team. They always make the tournament. And so it's important to really take every team seriously, whether it's low level or high level. Every game is important, and you want to make sure you put your best foot forward. Again, it's practice. So once you get through those games, you're able to really compete and continue to compete even in the postseason.
And then can you give us a little peek into what goes into putting together that schedule? I mean, how many hours does it take to fully put together a schedule for a power conference collegiate volleyball team?
To be honest, again, we were kind of starting from behind. And so definitely timeless amount of effort spent on that, especially because we were kind of in the bubble where people didn't really want to play us. But I think it's a good place to be because then you know you're doing something well. And so I think it takes a lot of dedication early. You want to make sure that you either get those commitments for 2 to 3 years, or you make sure you have those conversations early, like AKA February, December. You want to make sure that you're on top of those teams.
And then obviously one of the big matchups from this week, well, I guess there are really only two. So I guess if I say matchups, I mean both of them. But
Yeah.
Illinois, obviously a big history between Mizzou and Illinois. So resuming that brag and rice rivalry, are is resuming those rivalries a little bit more frequently something that you're looking to do?
I honestly, I don't know that we've even thought that far, to be honest. It's always a pleasure to play a Big Ten team. They're going to bring it every day. And I think it just helps us even more. I think because of our conference being so intense, you want to play those big games. And Illinois is going to be a fantastic game for us, just like Lipscomb. It doesn't change who we play. We just have to be ourselves and make sure we come out ready.
And then you talked about playing a Big Ten team. You were a coach in the Big Ten previously, volunteer assistant at Michigan State, specialized in middle blocker training and blocking techniques. And prior to that, were at DePaul. So you have experience with a lot of different volleyball conferences around the country. What's something, in your opinion, having been in several of those conferences, that makes the SEC different from everybody else?
Hmm. To be honest, I think having a break in between matches. So we play Friday, Sunday. In the Big Ten, we play back to back Friday, Saturday. I think it's really just staying encouraged throughout the weekend. No matter what the outcome is on Friday, you still got to show up on Saturday just as hard for practice and then be ready on Sunday to earn that day off on Monday. But I think part of it is just the level. There's a bunch of good teams in the SEC. There's nobody that's taking a break. And so with Texas and Oklahoma being added, I think it's going to be a real treat.
And then you didn't just coach in the Big Ten, you played in the Big Ten as well. And you won a lot of championships. I mean, 4 national championships, 4 Big Ten championships. If I'm not mistaken, you're the only part of the only class to ever win 4 straight national titles, never not win a national title during your collegiate career. You know, from 2007 to 2010, do you think that that stretch of national titles at Penn State, is that the greatest NCAA volleyball dynasty of all time?
Some would argue that it might be. It's just a different time. And I think that it's definitely going, if we had social media, it would be a lot bigger than what it is. But I definitely think there's not a lot of people that can touch it.
Yeah, and obviously in terms of just the number of national titles, nobody comes close, right? I think the closest that anybody else has come is 2 straight national titles, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, really, really impressive career collegiately. You're also a 3-time All-American, a team captain, and that's something that I want to talk about. You were an All-American. I believe that Coach Sullivan was an All-American at Kansas State as well. You know, how important is it to a team to have coaches that have been there before? They've played at that level, they've succeeded at that level, and they know what it's like to be a D1 athlete.
Yeah, Dawn Sullivan always very much so stresses about the empowerment of women. And I think nobody better than say that than people who've actually been women and played in the sport. I think that it does give them a good example of how to be. I think we still both have that intense way of being and thinking. And so I think just trying to share that with them every single day about, you might think life is tough right now, but it only gets tougher. And how do you actually, muster through that? But I think just being a great example, I mean, even even we have Jenna on staff, a phenomenal person, also a phenomenal athlete. And I think she brings just as much as that as well, just that example of greatness. And so we definitely try to show and lead by actions.
A lot of really good moments in your career. We talked about the national titles, the Big Ten titles, but you still, I looked it up just to triple check. You still hold the Penn State career record for hitting percentage, single season record for hitting percentage, fourth all time with block assists, fifth with total blocks, sixth with blocks per set, and a bunch of other records too. I don't really have time to name them all. But of all those moments in your college career, what is your favorite moment?
Ooh. Favorite moment would probably be being a senior and having 9 freshmen come in and having to get them all on board with what we do as a program. And then my other top favorite would probably be the game against Texas, with us being down 2-0 and coming back and smacking some butt.
And then I was also able to find on YouTube, they have one of your All-American videos from when you were named an All-American, and you had a really good slide attack. Now, the reason I bring it up is that Colleen Finney, one of her go-tos is the slide attack. So, have you helped her develop that, or, is that kind of one of your favorite attacks as a former player?
Yes, I would like to think that that is the best attack in the world. I think it's hard to really block it, especially if you're up and available or it just over the block period. But I definitely feel like she has mastered it, and she's getting better at just hitting that line, which is always something that we stress. The more you can hit that line, the more cross court it opens up for you to just be great. So I'm really proud of her. I definitely feel like she asks a lot of good questions, but she's such a beast in general. So she's really grasped a hold of it, which is awesome.
And then something else I figured out with research, your Penn State bio is still on the athletics website. And down at the bottom, it said your nicknames were Ari, Miss Arielle, and A-Train.
Yes.
Now, I have to ask, do players use either one or multiple of those nicknames, or they just call you Coach Wilson?
Ari. They call me Ari. Coach Wilson, Coach Arielle sounds so formal. I'm kind of the auntie on the team, which is great. But I think for the most part, Ari has been the biggest nickname that they use. A-Train is something that Russ Rose, my very favorite coach, brought up. It was one of his nicknames for me. And so that kind of is one of those team things that sticks around.
Yeah. And then after your Penn State career, played professionally in a lot of places all over the globe, Poland, Azerbaijan, Indonesia, Italy. How did that international and professional experience benefit your coaching career?
So I've played with a lot of international players, and I think being a foreigner on the team, you really get that perspective of being lonely or, not understanding the language, being far from home. And so when I see foreigners on an American team, I really empathize and try to make sure that they feel at home. And so that has helped my coaching career with just making them feel at home and understanding that it is tough being away from family, but you're serving something so much bigger than yourself. So it has played a major role in empathizing with that. I really enjoy our international players.
And then internationally, what's your favorite country that you've played in?
I've played in a lot, but I think all of them were really awesome. I've really enjoyed the culture, the food, meeting new people. I still have friends from overseas to this day. And even coaches, I still talk to them as well. So it has helped with that relationship with international players, even just to get that talent over here to America. But I also feel like they all were very special. I don't really have a favorite. I've enjoyed my career overseas, and I thought it was fantastic.
And then during that time, you also got an opportunity to be a member of the USA Women's National Team. Can you just talk about that experience? What's it like to represent Team USA?
Honestly, I didn't grow up thinking about USA Volleyball. And once a lot of my teammates from Penn State were Olympians and had the opportunity to go train, I was like, why not me? So that was part of the plan, is to get in the gym and really be around high level individuals. And it was fun. It was really fun. I opened a lot because I feel like, there's so many players in the US, so many talented players. And so to be on every single day with stats and trying to make sure that you are beating an Olympian is like a rush in itself. But really a fun time. Had the opportunity to work with Hugh McCutcheon. He was at Minnesota, and then Karch, which two very, very awesome coaches.
And then you recently had the opportunity to coach for USA Volleyball, coach for the national team at the National Team Development Program, their Indoor Winter Training Series. What was it like coaching for a team, coaching for USA Volleyball, when you'd once played for USA Volleyball?
Such an honor. And even to be around that talented of young athletes, like, I think it's so awesome that they're doing those national team development programs, and they have them often, so those girls are able to play with each other and kind of build that relationship. But I think it plays a big role in how successful they're going to be in the future. They're going to be the next generation, and so it's just an honor to be around high level athletes. And hopes that they, really enjoy my coaching style and want to come here to Mizzou and put Mizzou on the map.
And then we talked about, obviously, decorated college career, decorated professional career. What led you to decide to go into coaching?
To be honest, I agree with Don, just the empowerment of young women. What better way to give back to the sport, but also be a positive role model. And, when I originally played, there was not a lot of African Americans playing. And so just to see that there's more in the game, but really just having them see a face and it transferring over. So I think just really trying to get to the next level at the highest level possible and let them know that it's possible. You can do anything you put your mind to.
And then you talked about constantly looking to get to that next level, right? As a coach, obviously, when you were a player, what would be that next level for you as a coach?
Helping Don get to a national championship. And then, of course, when you're there in the NCAA tournament, just kind of continuing to go far. So making it past second round, getting to Elite Eight, the Sweet 16, whatever that might look like. I think it is time for a female to be on top.
And then you talked about the goals of getting deep into the postseason. And I remember Coach Sullivan had said that the goal entering this year was to make the Sweet 16, host the first two rounds. How do you feel about the team's trajectory to reach that so far?
I think the team needs to continue to believe in what, that goal is and keep striving every single day. It doesn't just happen in games, it happens in practice. And so we've been really instilling that in them this season. And I do believe they can get there. It just keeps continuing to take that time and dedication.
And then looking at this week, Thursday, Friday, what are going to be the keys to success for the Tigers?
Playing our game, making sure that we, take care of the scouting report of what we have told them of the keys to winning. And I think also that confidence piece, just making sure that you, don't take days off or time off, but really staying focused on, every day in practice, making sure you're killing the ball, making sure you're playing defense, making sure you're on top of everything that's being asked of you. So that consistency is going to play a big role in this week.
And then as we wrap up, is there anything else you want to say to Tigers fans?
I'm so excited for all of the Tiger fans that come out and support us every single day. That does not go unnoticed. Every time they come and support our girls, I think it is a special time, and we want to continue to see them on the road as well. So anytime they can come out and support us and pack the Hearn Center is a plus for us. Thank you so much for your support.
Tigers fans want to support the team on the road. It is a pretty good opportunity. They're going to be in Nashville Thursday and Friday, so you can visit Nashville, go support the Tigers. That is going to do it for the first episode of Season 2 of Over the Net, a Mizzou Volleyball interview series. Coach Wilson, thank you so much for joining us today, and best of luck Thursday and Friday.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Rock M Radio, a proud partner of Fans First Sports Network. Rock M Radio is the official podcast network of Rock M Plus, a new and exciting subscription service provided by me and the other voices of Rock M Radio. Please take a few moments to head over to rockm.plus and sign up for an account today. The cost is only $5 a month, and the benefits include access to our live podcast, a subscriber-only message board, weekly newsletters, and more. If you enjoyed this episode of Rock M Radio and would like to see more just like it beamed directly into your personal device, make sure to click the subscribe button below and tell your friends. Our podcast feed is available through the Apple Podcast app for iPhone, Google Podcast app for Android, whatever app you listen to your podcast. You can also find Rock M Radio on Spotify. If you're looking for a podcast about your favorite team that is not the Missouri Tigers, Fan First Sports Network is your answer. A full podcast network loaded with the team-specific podcasts covering Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, and more. And we'll be back with more episodes of Rock M Radio coming to you soon.